Hey there, ghouls and gals. This is actually an episode of my new podcast, Ramblings of a Witch, that I wanted to share with you. If you enjoy listening, please subscribe, and know that the next episode of Whispers of a Witch will be full of tentacles and old ones. Welcome to Ramblings of a Witch, my pretties. This is where I ramble on about things of a witchy nature. Today I'm joined by a guest that I think you'll all love. And stay tuned to the end, and I'll tell you how to win some incredible artwork that would look amazing in any witch's home.
Hello, folks. We have an amazingly talented guest with us today, the artist Echo Chernick. Echo, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hello, thank you for having me on, Jennifer. My name is Echo Chernick, and I've been an illustrator for about 25 or 27 years now. And you can go to my website, echochernick.com, if you wanted to check out my work. I've done quite a variety of different genres and pieces, so I can definitely talk about that with you. What do you want to hear about first?
Yeah, I've seen some incredible like Art Nouveau kind of styles.
I am best known for my Art Nouveau pieces. I've actually done Art Nouveau advertising illustration for most of my career. And Art Nouveau is, if you're not familiar with it, is the more curvy lines. I'm known for drawing a lot of women. I specialize in drawing women. I do men too, to answer the question. I like to draw a lot of women, and one thing people like about my work is that I draw all different types of women. I draw, different ethnicities, different colors, different sizes. I think women are beautiful, and they're just beautiful to draw, and flowers and curvy elements, and so I birds and animals. So Art Nouveau lends itself to that as well.
Yeah, and they're absolutely beautiful. Do you do something for gaming companies? Is that what I saw as well?
I do. Actually, I started out at the beginning of my career, many moons ago. I started out in, when I went to Pratt in Brooklyn, I wanted to start out in illustration. And we were playing role-playing games at the time. And so I decided that's where I was going to start. So I had work in White Wolf, Mage, Wraith, and I started there, and then I slowly moved into advertising illustration, which has been awesome. But I've always still loved role-playing games, and then I do a lot of work for the role-playing game Shadowrun in a completely different style. We have Art Nouveau, we have Shadowrun, and I've also done work for Disney and Mattel. And when I do my advertising work, if you like tea, the Celestial Seasoning green tea boxes that have like the dragon and the koi and those designs on them, I did all of those. So my work is literally all over the place. People tell me, they're like, I love your work, I can always tell it's you. And I'm like, how? It looks there's a woman with a gun over there, there's a sexy beautiful woman over there at Art Nouveau, there's tea boxes, and I also do neoclassical paintings. So I have beautiful nudes of women, mostly that are like oil paintings. So they're all over the place.
See, no, it makes sense. You just have a tea drinking, RPG playing, beautiful women appreciating fan base. That's a great thing.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny because sometimes people make like remarks about how I paint women and everything, and I've taken polls. It's about 52% of my fan base are women, which is awesome.
Yeah, of course it's awesome. And, despite what people think, I think the people who most appreciate beautifully drawn women are, in fact, other women.
Yes.
So, speaking of drawing beautiful women, that brings us to this Excalibur project that you're working on.
Yes, I love the Excalibur project. So, as I told you, I've been doing advertising most of my career, and that's been wonderful. It's been great. I love doing advertising illustration. I love doing book covers. I love everything I've been doing. But I've always wanted, and I've known this for years, I've always loved sexier art, more erotic art, and I've always wanted to explore that in my Art Nouveau pieces. But I had to wait till the kids got older, and I'm like, well, one day I'm gonna do that. I want to do that. So now with Patreon, I can do it, and with everything that's going on with COVID, I had to move my studio earlier than I expected. So all of a sudden now I have the time to explore the Excalibur project. What the Excalibur project is it is an exploration into the belief that erotic art can be sexy. I want to do sexy, beautiful erotic art, not like raunchy art. So there are a lot of I do every week with the Excalibur Project. I do a weekly review of artists in history and art styles in history that go over into eroticism, and we talk about them. And I like to introduce them to the patrons that are on the Patreon. At the same time, I'm exploring where I want my pieces to fall into that genre. And it's been awesome. It's just exciting.
Now it looks like there's a big fairy tale element going on in there.
Yes. Well, what I've been doing is the project is encompasses all the things I want to explore. All right, I'm going to start back to where I started at the beginning of my career. When I was at the very beginning of my career in college, I decided to work in role playing game, and I decided I wanted to work in black and white art because that's what role playing games were published in back then. But I didn't know what style I wanted to do. I didn't know all the styles, so I sat down and I said, "All right, I'm going to do all the different styles of black and white. I'm going to I'm going to do work in all the styles, figure out what I'm good at, figure out what I like, and then that will be my ultimate style." I'm doing the same thing now with the Excalibur project. I'm like, I want to do erotic art, but I have all these different styles that I do. I do realistic oil paintings, and I do Art Nouveau, and I do line art, and I've just discovered how to print with gold leaf. So I want to do all this stuff. So I decided the theory behind the Lost Fairy Tales book is that there is this person, as of yet undefined, who is an explorer and is wandering through some mystic library somewhere and finds all these books that are all rotten away and destroyed. Part of them are rotten away, part of them are just old and dusty and everything, and pulls out excerpts of these lost fairy tales that never existed. So what they're going to be is that frees me up to basically say, I'm going to do 5 pages of this story somewhere in the middle of the story that doesn't exist, and make you the viewer want to know what happens in the rest of the story. And that gives me the most artistic freedom to just really have an amazing time. So I can basically be like, I want to do this koi god piece with this lover of this koi god, and I'm just going to start right in the middle here, and I want to do that in oil painting. So so I'll do a couple pages in that. And then the next one, maybe I want to do more in like line art with gold. And so by doing it that way and having them all a bunch of just fragments of lost stories, I get to experiment with a bunch of different styles. I can experiment with also the themes that I want to do, because I want some of them to be more serious and more erotic and, and lovely and beautiful. And I want some to be a little bit more whimsical and fun, because I have kind of a little bit of a sense of humor, especially when it comes to sexy things. So I wanted some of them to be a little more lighthearted. So by approaching it with the Lost Fairy Tales book, I get to do all of those.
So the Excalibur project is it completely focused on that Lost Fairy Tales book? Is that all the artwork is kind of stemming from that idea?
It's part of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do some pieces right now where basically I'll just get inspired and I'll just do a piece and it'll go in there. So what the Excalibur project is it's a Patreon, which is a crowdfunding platform where people can basically pay the minimum of $5 a month and be completely involved with watching everything that I do. And if you go on it for the $5 a month level, you get to see all my sketches, everything that I post up, and you get to see that weekly art review. I do a whole art review about different artists throughout history. So you get a little art history in there. So if anybody asks you why you're on this Patreon, you'd be like, I'm learning art history. It's totally legitimate.
Scholarly reasons.
It's an art history thing. I actually love art history. It was one of the things I loved about school much was art history. And so I've been talking about erotic art history in Japan and in China and all different cultures, and it's fascinating.
Now, will you end up actually publishing that a book version that has all of these images in it as a book of lost fairy tales, or?
Yes, one day I will be publishing a book of lost fairy tales, and that is that the Patreon is you get to watch it develop and watch me do sketches and pieces. So not everything I do in the Patreon may end up in the book of Lost Fairy Tales. I may do a piece and be like,
Sure.
yeah, that looks great, but it just doesn't fit in with the fairy tales. So the Patreon is part of the exploratory process of creating this book. Eventually there will be a book. So the Patreon has a print of the month, which is a beautiful print, usually with gold foil or silver foil. And I've been limiting them to runs of 100 right now. So I basically, the people that are in early on and watching this progress get a chance to get the print. They could also take a screen capture of it as well, or download a digital version of it. But then there's also the aged version. So what I've been doing is mocking up what it'll look like as if it really came from an old text. So I have an aged paper look, and sometimes the images look slightly different. And I've been working with the text, and there's one of them called the Cave of Delights, where I wrote a whole bunch of text. But I'm going to be aging most of it out, so you'll be able to just see like some words here and there, but you'll be able to see the images wrapped all around it. But you won't really know what the text is. And the way the project is set up, eventually, if I ever wanted to reveal that text, I could do here's a different version. Look, we found a different version of this fairy tale. We could do the whole fairy tale, and if so, it's I set it up this way so that I can explore it, and it can be fun and freeform, and doing it with the Patreon is really cool because then I can post it up and people can tell me what they think. They're like, "Oh, I really like this." I'm like, "Yeah, me too. I'm going to explore, that a little bit more. I'm going to do this a little bit more." So it's like an ongoing development. So you get to actually watch and, me as an artist develop this project as time goes on. So it's fun.
But obviously, as a storyteller as well, because you're not just taking fairy tales that we know, you're actually creating new fairy tales. Is that?
Yes, I'm creating new. I was on a panel once, and they asked, the question of the panel was, how do you get inspired? How do you find creativity if you run out of ideas? I never run out of ideas, and we'll talk about PC later. But both of us are the same way. We just do not run out of ideas. So I constantly have new ideas for things, and I'm making up these fairy tales and these stories based on just what feels right. So, and what is inspiring, what is exciting, which is I've done a lot of pieces based on traditional fairy tales. I've done my entire neoclassical series with Beauty and the Beast and Red Riding Hood and Snow White. But I like making these up because I can put in these elements that develop as the story kind of comes to light. So, does that make sense?
It does. It does. Now, I'm just curious whether you ever share them with your fans or not. Do you actually flesh out the entire fairy tale in your head? Even if we only ever see a fragment of it, do you know who they are and what's going on and how their story ends?
Sometimes I do. So, all right. So some of them I just have like an image in my head, and I'll be like, "Hey, I want to do this page." There's like this, for instance, there's this image I haven't done yet with just this fantastical parade that's just bizarre. And I just had this image of this woman looking at this cat who's paused, like the cat is like was licking themselves, and they paused to look at this bizarre, almost like the Japanese have like a penis festival where they celebrate fertility. And I always had this image of this kind of bizarre parade, and the cat had stopped licking just to look at this bizarre parade. Like, okay then. And the woman's like, right. She's looking at the cat, like even stopped the cat from licking. And that's the entirety of the image. I don't have any more than that.
This sounds like a fantastic image. I'm excited to see this.
Just this image. And I have actually wrote down this little quote, something about her saying something to the cat about it. I forget where it was. I wrote it down. This is like one line thing about, but the cat's like, okay then, and goes back to licking. but that's the image of this. But then there's other ones like the Cave of Delights where I actually wrote out the entire story. And then I started working with I started talking to my friend PC Cast about it, and I really liked the idea of having another woman who is not afraid of their sexuality involved with this. And she's been writing some things for the Excalibur project. Now, sometimes it goes like this. Sometimes I send a picture to her and I say, "Hey, here's the 7 happy brides." And I have this image of this dragon with these 6 women that are her brides. And I named it the 7 happy brides. And what I want people to see the image and automatically assume that there's, that it's a male dragon and there's these 6 brides. But and have them go like, "Well, where's the 7th bride?" And have to figure out that the 7th bride is the dragon, that she's actually a female dragon. And so it kind of plays with people's perceptions that they automatically think, oh, well, it's a guy, it's a dragon and 7 brides. Well, I only count 6. So it plays with the perception that, that way that these 7 beings can't be in this, relationship without a guy. And that's all I told PC. And she's taken it and sort of run with it. And she's come up with all of these ideas that she's told me about that you'll have to wait and read more about, because we've coming up with all these great ideas. I mean, it's awesome.
So, Echo, not only are you creating fairy tales, illustrating amazing artwork, but you're also challenging views on sexuality.
Yes.
That is incredible. It makes me love everything you're doing even more.
I always thought that was important. That's what part of what an artist does. An artist challenges people to think. I mean, they say that when you go to fine art, you look at fine art in museums and stuff, you're supposed to be challenged to think within yourself and to, introspect yourself and everything. I always take that very seriously, and I always have. I've always, had to push a little bit too much nudity, or push a little bit, or push different sexual, relationships into my pieces. Like with Shadowrun, for instance. I love Shadowrun. I've played Shadowrun since the '90s when I was in college, but I didn't get to illustrate it till about 10 years ago. And I've done 11 or 12 or 13 covers for them. But
wow.
I found it very important to not just have, here's the white people on the cover and the token black guy in the background, and there's the token Asian person and they're Yakuza, they're bad. That's ridiculous to me. So I work really hard to just have all different colors, all different shapes, all different sizes, all different, relationships and things. And if you go through the Shadowrun Tarot deck, there's all kinds of relationships. And so in the 7 Happy Brides, one of the women has the skin condition vitiglio, where she has, just the white patches that can be really, really cool looking. So I like to explore a lot of just different body types and different, relationships, things. I've always liked to do that. And I think it's important as an artist. It's our job to put out there what we want to see more of. I mean, I believe that people should be able to love who they love, be in relationships, as long as everybody's happy and it's, consensual and everything, that, I think that people should be allowed to be who they should be. And so I want to encourage that with my art by just reinforcing it.
And showing that everything is beautiful. I absolutely adore that. And yes, you should love who you want to love. And if that is a dragon, then so be it.
So be it. So I just think, and also nowadays, one of the things I want to do with the Excalibur project is, I noticed, nowadays there's a lot of people that are afraid to feel sexy or look sexy or talk about sexy, because there's so much bad press about it. And I think that women should be able to feel strong and sexy and not be ashamed of it. So my women are, one of the things people like about my women is that they're always strong and they're self-confident. They're not objectified. I don't like to objectify women. I like to have, you're looking at a nude woman and she's like my piece I did based on Princess Leia. She's laying there and she's, she may have changed, but you are in her space. I mean, you are there because she is letting you be there. So that's one of the things I like to illustrate.
And it really comes through, which I really appreciate. So I love listening to you talk about your artwork, because after looking at so much of it, you absolutely match what I was expecting for someone that can create those things. So
I also love symbolism. If you look into my pieces, one of the things that people like in my pieces is that the more you look at them, the more you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't notice that piece of symbolism and that piece of symbolism. I like to just put all this stuff in the pieces that you have to keep looking at and notice, especially sexual symbolism. I should do an entire lecture series on sexual symbolism.
I would sign up for
that's
that.
That's why I'm doing the art history thing, because I'm talking about sexual symbolism during it, because it's just fascinating.
And it's an interesting thing, modern society, because every time I think we're moving forward, I see something in the news or something coming out, and I'm like, that seems like a few steps backward. So
Yeah.
I think it's important, so very important, that there are always people like you out there pushing the envelope and reminding people that eroticism and sexuality is a fabulous thing.
And it's okay, you know. It's people nowadays. Everybody's pushing their opinions on everybody else so much. You know, it's okay to feel sexy or like things that are sexy, or you have to look at different things to discover what you like.
So, you have your amazing Excalibur project going on.
Which is you could find at the excaliburproject.com, or you can go to directly there. You can go to patreon.com/the Excalibur Project. Now it's spelled THEXCALIBER project.com, like high caliber, the Excalibur, as opposed to I think BUR, which is the sword. So it's sort of a little play on words there.
And are you a fan of Arthurian legend? Is that
I am. I read so much in high school. I mean, I think as an artist, you have to read a lot because the more you put in, the more you get out. But yes, I'm a fan of Arthurian legend. I read more to Arthur and Avalon and all of those, um, and did a paper on them in high school actually. So and now I read. I just still read a lot. I read lots of different things.
now? Do you read House of Night?
I did. I did read the entire series of House of Night. Actually, I met PC Cass at New York Comic Con 5 or 6 years ago. She showed up at my booth and she's like, "Hi, I'm PC Cass." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she was super confident and super nice and just super. I recognized her name, but I hadn't read anything by her yet. But she was just so confident and nice and awesome, and she loved some of my beautiful women. She bought some pieces and stuff, and we've sort of stayed in touch over the years. And then I moved out to this coast, and I actually worked on another Kickstarter project with Patrick Rothfuss. And after that was done, I kept thinking, but that was really fun. I want to work with another author. Well, I really like PC's work, and I called her up and talked to her and said, I'd like to let's do a Kickstarter. This will be a lot of fun. And I said, what series do you think people would like? And she's like, oh, House of Night, because that's my most popular series. And so I said, okay, well, I want to read it. So she sent me all the books. There you go.
Oh, lucky you!
So I read all the books, like all at once.
They're pretty addictive, so it's easy to do.
It's like a box of chocolates. It's just like, okay, let's start here and we'll go to the right. So I did. I read them all in like the summer.
And is that what brought you to the idea of doing this illustration of Nyx?
Yes. Well, then I said, let's do something. And she said, that sounds great. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know. Let me read the books first, and then we'll decide. And then I read the books, and I said, oh, I should do a portrait of Nyx, because that would be really cool and Art Nouveau, and people love the Art Nouveau pieces, and cats. I mean, cats. There's cats involved, so you gotta love cats. We have cats. So, and I was like, this could be a really beautiful piece, and this would be, just a really fun Kickstarter to do. So we decided just to do it. So we did it, and it's live and it's funded and it's up there for the next, I think, week or so. But just to be able to get the print later. But it's the good thing about Kickstarter is it's directly from me and her. It's just just from the creators. We're doing this the way we want to do it together.
Oh, no publishing house involved. No one telling you what you can or can't do, right?
Nope, we're just doing this ourselves, and this is kind of a test piece to just to do a beautiful piece of art, and maybe we'll do more later, and we'll I'm just like, let's do something fun. And she's like, yeah, let's do something fun. So we're just doing this, and we want it to be. I said, no stress. I said, this is going to be like an awesome, beautiful piece of art, and it's going to be no stressful. I just actually added her cat. I put her cat in. I put one of my cats in there. So there's a level on the Kickstarter you could back where you can pay to have your cat in the piece.
How amazing is that?
Yeah. So her cat, Xena Warrior Princess, is on the bottom, and my cat, Sita, is sitting up there and on the top in her most interesting cat in the world pose. So, but yeah, you can actually back a level to have your cat, or to have your cat in the border of this piece.
Oh, so. That's amazing. I'm thinking my Mina Harker. I'm gonna have to look into this.
You have to look into it. So it's on there. There's room for about 8 cats, or however many fit in there. I have 3 cats in there right now. So, and I'm like, we want to not. She likes PC likes the number 9, so we're like, maybe we'll get 9 cats in the border. So we need some more people to come in and put their cats on the border. So.
Now, so is there a possibility of you illustrating other characters from her books, or is it just depend on how this goes and how successful it is?
maybe. But it's always a possibility. I've worked with her before. I actually did the cover for Disasters for the graphic novel through her publishing house, actually, though. I didn't do that directly through her, which was cool. And then I did, what else did I do with her? Something else with her, too. I forgot. Oh, I did a personal piece for her, too. So, I do a lot of pieces. People show up. Did you do this? I'm like, I think so. I don't remember.
So you have the amazing Excalibur project going on. You have this amazing Kickstarter going on with PC for this illustration of Nyx. Not that you probably have time, but do you have anything else going on or in the works or anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, I always have other stuff going on. So usually I have a lot of advertising work going on, but because of everything that's going on and all the people, it's slowed down, which is strange. So I only have about one logo that I'm working on right now. But it's kind of nice because that's given me time to do the Excalibur project. So I get to spend, so I'm not worried about it. I get to spend time doing my own pieces instead. I've decided to shift over to that. Still, if you want to see my advertising work, that's at echo-x.com. And when things pick up, it'll come back. But I'm loving I believe that you have to take what you're given and make the best of it. And right now, times for artists are different, so you have to adjust to it. So this is a good time to work on personal things. So I've encouraged all my artist friends. I said, take this time, don't panic, and just work on the things that are important to you. And the world will keep changing and growing. I said, but you'll be creating something that you love. So I think that's important because a lot of artists are very upset that they don't have their conventions right now because this is normally our convention season.
I think that's beautiful advice. So I think it gives us a moment to refocus on who we are and what we want to do with our art. So I think that's excellent advice everyone should take.
Everyone should take. Yeah, just refocus. Don't worry, we'll get through this. But I'm not really doing any advertising work right now. I am doing another book cover, and a couple other things. But mostly, I'm trying to focus on my personal projects for the first time in my whole career.
Well, that has to feel amazing.
It is pretty cool. So
Echo, I have one more random question. I have to
as long
know.
as it's random.
Echo is one of my favorite myths in Greek mythology, and it's kind of also one of the most tragic. I just have to know, is that where the name comes from?
Yes and no. I took Latin in high school. I loved the Greek myths. I read both Boethius's mythology in high school. Like I said, I read everything in high school. It just always stuck with me. And then fast forward years later in college, I started playing Shadowrun with my now husband, and I decided to name one of my characters Echo, and all my friends just started calling me Echo because they would just they would all play Shadowrun with us, so they just would call me Echo. Then I got hired to illustrate a tarot deck actually under my maiden name, but I was just going by my initials. And when they found out I was a woman, they unhired me, which was really sucky. So I decided at that point.
Deck? Wait, we got to pause for a second. You were unhired from creating a tarot deck when they found out you were a woman?
Yes. Yes. They like, oh, we'll call you back, and then they never did. So I was rather mildly perturbed by that. So at that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go by Echo, and I did, and it's my legal name now. I made it my middle name for a long time, and then now it's my legal name. And as soon as I did, I started getting massive amounts of advertising work because people didn't know if I was a woman or a man. How weird is that, right?
Oh, that is a whole podcast in of itself.
That is a whole podcast.
It's infuriating.
So things have changed since then. That was some time ago. But yeah, I got a call, and they're like, "We want you to do this, tarot deck," and it's I was so excited. So I called them back, and they're like, "Oh, you're a woman." I'm like, "Is that a problem?" They're like, "No. Well, I just got this meeting, and I'll call you back." And I didn't get a call back, and I was like, "All right, that's it. We're going by a gender neutral name." So
well, what's super funny about that is anybody that knows Greek mythology would know it was a female name.
It's a female name.
I digress.
It is a female name, I know, but everybody thinks I'm a guy, unless they're in the Ukraine for some reason. Well, no, all the Ukrainians think think I'm a mister. I'm always a mister, but like everywhere else, they're not sure. But in Japan, they think I'm a woman. It's weird. It depends on where it is. It's been a fascinating study in
See, now
language.
PC needs to write a character named Mr. Echo because that just has a fantastic ring to it.
Mr. Echo. Yeah. So
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing all of that information.
I told you I can talk quite a bit. They don't let us artists out of the studio very much. So
Well, I love listening to you talk, so that all worked out. And I know all of our listeners will love listening to you. So I'm excited about all of your projects, and I will make sure all of the links are everywhere this podcast is so everyone can find out more about your art and follow you on Patreon and join in on that Kickstarter.
if they decide to join the Patreon list from listening to this podcast, make sure you message me and you tell me if you join if they join the $30 level, which is the print of the month, which means you'll get a print every month. Then I will give you a bonus print for the first month, so you get free art and you get to talk to me every Friday because I do a live Zoom. Everybody, all the Patreon people are invited to come and just chat with me while I work live on Zoom every Friday.
Free art and getting to chat with you? That
Yeah.
definitely sounds like a win for me.
And art history, don't forget, you get weekly art history too. So
I love it.
it's educational.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Echo. I can't wait to share this with everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I hope you found listening as much fun as I had chatting. So along with this special offer, if you become a patron on Patreon of the Excalibur Project, just for listeners of Ramblings of a Witch, Echo will be giving away a free print of her Nyx illustration for one randomly chosen listener. And all you have to do is go on to Instagram, follow me at The Witch Voice, and follow the Excalibur Project. That's THEXCALIBER PROJECT. And once you've done that, message me at The Witch Voice, and you will be entered into winning an incredible print of Echo's Nyx drawing from PC Cast's House of Night series. Until next time, stay wicked.